What's up, it's Matthew. I wanted to record this video to answer a question about my Runelite plugins and how I get things to look the way they do. So just real quick, I will show you what my game actually looks like on my monitor, size-wise. So I play on fixed mode, so it's about a quarter of the screen in total. I personally like having a smaller client because I can have, my main and my group Iron Man up here, and maybe I want to watch a YouTube video, or maybe I'm, maybe I'm streaming and I have my Twitch chat, my activities over here, or like right now I have my notepad. So I just like having the screen space. Right now I have it in the middle of the screen. I usually have it in the bottom corner over here, and then another client up here for my group Iron Man. But just for this sake, I only have this client on here. So this is about the size that I'm looking at. I personally like it because I can click to do things over here and get back to my game really quickly. So I can go from inventory to game very fast. And also sometimes I play like other games. Counter-Strike is one I play a lot, so FPS games. And it's nice because with the lower DPI on Counter-Strike, I don't have to change that just to play RuneScape on like full screen and get my mouse from point A to point B faster. So that is about how big my game client is overall. But on the client itself, so I want to talk first about the main graphic settings I use. So you can tell I use a pretty clean client. I kind of like to keep things pretty clean. I don't like to have too much on the screen, especially the main game area. So the main things I use, number one, are GPU. So I use the GPU plugin. It is a way to make your game client look and feel a bit better and more smooth without being 117 HD where everything is super HD and there's a lot of shadows everywhere. I just like things to look very smooth. And I also like seeing the expanded render distance. I like that too. One thing I will note that I actually didn't like whenever I used to use 117 HD with all of it being HD and a bunch of shading is I just like the vibrancy and the level of brightness to be consistent across the game. So while this area is very sunny outside and very nice, I also like it to be pretty bright in a darker area like Top Bank. So if I go to Top Bank, you'll notice it's also pretty bright in here. Like it's not super dark. I can see everything very clearly. And I just kind of prefer it that way. So that is how I do that, is through the GPU plugin. So draw distance at 120. I like to have bright textures turned on as well. And yeah, that's pretty much all for that. A lot of these settings in GPU, you want to tweak to your own system and your own preferences, but, and I've spent a lot of time doing that, and I really like where it is now. I haven't updated it in a long time. The other thing I use is low detail. So low detail is what makes the floor look smooth pretty much everywhere you go. So low detail, when you have it turned off, you'll see there's just like more things on the ground. There's like these specks of dust or dirt. Or if I go back to the crafting guild on the ground, you'll be able to see the grass and the dirt on the ground. So like here's the grass and the sticks underneath the trees and the dirt on the ground. And that's great. And I understand, it makes the game a little bit more full and immersive, and that's awesome. I just personally like having clean tiles where I can see everything. It looks more smooth. And then the last thing also regarding smoothness is animation smoothing that I use. So if I turn it off, you can see that the actual animations in the game are a little bit choppy, and it gives you that more old school RuneScape feel from back in the day, but I just like it to be smooth. So I have it on. That's it for the main graphic settings, but going into kind of this main game area space that I play on, the first thing you might notice is I'm able to hide my chat on fixed mode, which is a plugin in itself. It is called Fixed Mode Hide Chat, and you can just have it, hide your chat on fixed mode. I actually tried using this before they had this resize viewport setting. So if I tab resize viewport, turn it off, it used to be like this, where it would make it so that when you have it hidden, it renders this full area. And when you tab it up, it's still rendering this full area. So your character's a little bit off center. It feels a little bit weird to use with the chat up. And that kept me from using it for a long time. But now they have the resize viewport, so it actually will adjust the viewport based on if you have it up or down. And now I like it a lot more. I like having the extra game space. I just really enjoy that personally. And I can still have my game chat up whenever I want to. So yeah, I really like that plugin a lot. The other thing you'll notice is the date and time up here. This is actually just the clan events plugin. So a lot of clans or people who host events will make you download this whenever you are playing in an event, so they can make sure that you got the drop at the date and time you say you got the drop, and they'll have a password in here. I like having this up even if I'm not playing an event, just to have the date and time up here personally, but it just makes it easier for me to track clips and things I might be doing, which is great. Other than that, something that used to be up here right above this is actually customizable XP drops. So I go into my customizable XP drops and I go down to XP tracker overlay font. I actually have the font turned all the way down. If I turn it back up to where it was, which was 16, you'll see that I have my total level XP, or my total XP up here. You can set it so that it dynamically changes to whatever your last trained skill is and shows you a progress bar from level to level. But ever since I maxed my main, I realized I don't care to see my XP for each individual skill anymore. And even on my group Iron Man, I don't really care. I can use the XP tracker plugin over here to see that if I really want to. So I have this turned all the way down. Now, the reason I don't turn it off is because I like using what's called predicted hit. So predicted hit is part of this plugin. And what it basically does is it takes the XP drop you would get from hitting a monster with a combat style, and using math, it just figures out what your hit, actual raw number hit on that NPC probably is. It's not always perfect. It's usually, sometimes it can be like one number off. It's never usually more than that unless you're playing leagues where the calculation's way off, but it's usually like pretty accurate or maybe one number off. But it doesn't need to be exactly accurate, because most of the places where it's the most helpful is just to help you know ahead of time before the hit goes through whether you're crossing a certain HP threshold. So a good example is if you're doing Maiden and Tob, where you spawn Nilos on 30, 50, and 70% HP. If the boss is 71% HP and you hit a huge scythe, you're about to spawn the Nilos. Same with something like Baba in TOA, where at 66% HP she will throw boulders. Well, if it's 68% HP and you hit a massive Fang, you're probably about to proc boulders. Oh, Baguette? No, okay. So I just like seeing it. So for example, these cows have 8 HP. If I go up here and bop it, I can see there's the 8. So it's just very helpful. It's nice to see what you're hitting and what damage you're doing and all of that fun stuff. Very good. So that is pretty much it for this main gain area, minus down here at the bottom right. And this is kind of crossing over between main game and the side UI. So with boost information, I like to personally have the actual stat changes on this left column. So when I'm boosted or drained stats. And the reason I like to have it over here is because if I'm fighting something, say I'm in Tob doing Verzik, I like to glance right here just to see if maybe I need to sip my super combat potion. And then all my cooldowns I like having in the bottom right. So spell cooldowns like, Vengeance or Double Death Charge, potion cooldowns, thrall cooldowns, just anything like that I like to have pop up down here at the bottom right. So for example, you'll see I have Vengeance active. I cast Vengeance, the cooldown timer goes here. If I spellbook swap, the cooldown timer goes here. If I cast a thrall, the cooldown timer is here. If I sip a stamina, cooldown timer also here. If I sip a divine super combat, cooldown timer's down here, and my boosted stats are over here. So that's just how I like to have it set up. It does take some adjusting if you want to set it up like this for the first time, because you will need to detach some info boxes and move them. To detach an info box, you just basically can hold shift and it will change this to detach info box. You can click on it and then you can hold alt and drag it into whichever box area you want to move it to. Other than that, there are very rare occasions where I'll have other info boxes on this right pillar, such as the Tob room speed times. So if I'm doing Tob, I'll have the speed time the time for each room as we complete them populate over here. This just because I don't need to see it while I'm fighting things, but it's nice to be able to look at between rooms just to see how fast we're going. Other than that, you'll notice I have the companion pet plugin, which can turn your thralls to any pet in the game. So I use the Nibbler for melee, Zarpus for range, and then the Moxie pet for mage. I prefer seeing my thralls and having them, be little pets as opposed to hiding them and outlining them like a lot of people do. But it definitely has its benefits to hide them and outline them. For example, there are definitely times where my mage thrall hides the ground and I might need to see a bloatfoot or something. So definitely some drawbacks, but I just prefer it that way. Other than that, the other thing you'll notice on my screen is that when I highlight a tile, you can see it, or when I'm hovering a tile, it's a little highlighted. If I click, it then gives it corner indicators, and you'll actually see my character has very light transparent corner indicators as well. And then when I get to a tile, it disappears. So this is all from the corner tile indicators plugin. So the way I have it set up is if I'm just on a tile, I don't need to know that I'm on the tile with the indicators. So I just have them turn off. If I click a tile, it gives them the corner. If I'm moving, it shows my true tile with corners. And then as I get to the tile, it disappears. And those are all settings you can do within this plugin. So destination tile, hover tile, current tile, and the current tile has a fade out, which is how the indicators fade out right after I get to it. Again, that's just something I prefer over the regular big tile indicators that people use. I don't like having a big colored square that moves around all the time. I just prefer it to be more simple personally. So that's just how I have it set up. Other than that, something you'll notice up at the top of this UI, so I have my tick counter up here going to 5. The reason it's going to 5 is because really the only time I use it is in Coliseum, so I know which tick I need to move from the safe tile or the starting tile to the pillar tile. I like having the background very similar to the UI because I really don't look at this that much, and I honestly forget it's there most of the time. But when I need it, I know I can look up at it and use it. And then up here is just system information. This is really nice because I just like to see if I feel like I'm lagging or something's wrong, it's just nice at a glance to see, like, is this a ping problem versus a frame problem versus the server. So this is actually 3 different plugins that I've dragged into this corner, or that I have set up in this corner. So the first one is Ping Grapher. So Ping Grapher, you can have it set up just to show numbers. You can also have it set up to give you actual graphs if you want, but it just shows your ping. Then I have FPS Control, which shows my FPS at the top right, so you can see what your FPS is. And then I have Tick Tracker, which is showing you, there you go, Tick Tracker, which is the percentage here. That's actually showing you the percentage of good ticks on the game world or game server you're on. So for example, if a tick is actually happening every 0.6 seconds when it should, this is going to be a lot higher and it's going to be green. But if you're on a world where the ticks are, varying a bunch, then it's going to be red and it might drop down to like 80 or 70 or whatever it needs to drop to. But yeah, so I just like having this all in one place. So if I'm like, wow, I'm lagging, or wow, something feels weird, I can just look up here and see and kind of figure out what that might be. I sometimes have bossing information that will pop up depending on what I'm killing. In the bottom left corner, sometimes it'll be a big health bar. Sometimes, depending on the boss, I might have something on the boss. Another thing is with the party hubs. So I don't think anyone's in a party hub with me right now, but with party hubs, I have the party vengeance tracker. So you can see I now have vengeance on the middle of my character model. This is nice as someone who venges a lot in TOB, to be able to see which of my teammates do or don't have venge by just looking at them, as opposed to, actually having to think about it more than I do. So I have the party venge tracker and party defense tracker, which will give you an info box showing the amount of defense reduction everyone in your party has done to whatever it is you're killing. That is pretty much it as far as the main plugins, how I get things to look the way that they do. But there are tons of other plugins. I'll go over some general quality of life ones that I really find value in and use a lot. But there are also tons of plugins for like every single piece of content. I have like 3 clue plugins and like 5 chambers plugins and like 3 TOB plugins, and there's plugins for every mini game and every skilling activity. So definitely take a look at those and search for them in the plugin hub. But for some general ones that are really good, I love anti-drag. So anti-drag, whenever you're doing gear switches, say you're doing a fast 8-way gear switch, sometimes it's easy to click and drag as opposed to just click to equip. Anti-drag adds a forced delay for if you click something before it will let you actually drag it. So for example, if I click and drag, you'll see I have like a forced delay there. Now, of course, I can just come in and hold control because I have disable and control pressed to move things without waiting for that delay. But that's an intentional action different from just clicking. So you don't accidentally drag anything. You just equip your gear, and it's nice. You can set the drag delay however you like. Another one I like is bank memory. This is because bank memory can store your bank details, like what's in your bank across accounts and even across temporary game modes like leagues and deadman mode, which I can actually delete a lot of these. But say, for example, I'm on my main, I don't have my group Ironman logged in, and my group Ironman teammates like, hey, do you have XYZ? I can click on my current bank and I actually can search my bank. I can find, hey, yeah, I do have this, or I have X amount of blood runes or whatever. Or you could be doing content on the account you're on and just click your current bank to see if something is in there. So I like using that a lot. Another one I use a lot is inventory setups. So a lot of people use what are called bank tag tabs, which if you're not familiar, bank tag tabs are what allow you to, in the bank, come in here and get this vertical row of tabs. Or if you click here to go view tag tabs, you can see all your tag tabs. Now this is great. You know, you can click one of them and you have all the gear for that specific piece of content. You can gear up quickly. And this was awesome until I started playing multiple accounts. And I use one Runelite profile for all my accounts because if I find a cool plugin on my main, I'm probably going to want it on my group Ironman as well. And I would rather not have to set that up on both places. But that also means bank tag tabs carry over to both accounts. So all my main accounts tag tabs are on my group Ironman, and then all my group Ironman ones are on my main. And it's hard to visually distinguish between them. So I had to use these group Ironman helmet icons, but now I can't actually tell what content they're for because they're group Ironman helmet icons. So I actually migrated away from this. I still have some of them for the ones I don't have set up in inventory setups, but I actually prefer inventory setups now because inventory setups you can categorize. So I've got just specific combat achievement tabs. I've got my group Ironman tabs, hardcore. For main, I have bossing, clues, raids, skilling. You can make tabs for anything and categorize them here. And then say I know I'm going to be going to do Araxor. I can type in Araxor. I choose my main Araxor tab. I click view setup. And when I click the bank, bang, here's the setup. I can grab everything before I get here. And I just know exactly what I'm getting and going with. You can add the inventory, the rune pouch, equipment, spellbook, additional filtered items, add notes. And it's even easy to update. Because, for example, I just got a Vernic Treads. So if I have a tag tab, so let me pull out my treads and equip them, right? So let me see if I have a tab on my main where I might have been using primordial boots. Bang, here we go, Cerberus. So I have primordial boots in my tag tab. If I open it up, my boots aren't there because now I use a Vernic Treads. No problem. I just equip all my gear. So I equip my Vernic Treads, right click this slot and equip from equipment, and bang, it's now a Vernic Treads. And if I go in here, here they are. So very, very easy to update, change things. I actually first saw this because when sailing came out, so here's sailing release day, someone set this up with all the filtered items you need for sailing, and they shared it, so you just have to import it. So then by going into my bank, I just have everything you could ever need related to sailing right here. So it's just super nice, and I like it a lot. And those are the main ones. I do have a bunch of other plugins that do a variety of small things, like better teleport menu, and easy teleports will change Pharaoh's Scepter or Pendant of Eights to like more common names, so you don't have to know what Jaltavas or Jaltavra is. You just, hey, I'm going to Tob or TOA, or I'm going to the Agility Pyramid, you know? So yeah, all things considered, that is how I get my client to look the way it does. Very simple, very clean, not a whole lot of clutter. The things I have on the screen pretty much covered everything and why they're there, and then some good quality of life plugins too. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you would like to know more about specific plugins for a specific piece of content, also happy to answer that as well. As you can see, I have a lot of plugins. One last thing I'll say is that if you want to have the exact same setup of Runelite from one of your systems to the next, if you have a laptop or something and a desktop computer, make sure to set up a profile on Runelite for, you know, your main account. So this is my main account, and I have this where it is linked. If I click this, it is synced to the cloud, and it is linked to my other accounts. So I can just double click this. It has everything in it. And if I log in on Runelite, I will have my exact same configuration here. You can also set up other plugins. So like I have one called Cinematics that actually turns off everything on my screen, including the minimap. I set it to resizable modern, and that's what I can use to record some like B-roll stuff, right? So super helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer them, and best of luck.